Okay, I want to wrap this video up because it's taken a long time. I'm going to tell you the results now so you don't have to go all the way to the end of the video. And the conclusion is that I didn't come to a real clear-cut conclusion. What I found was the Rubber Toughened Super Glue is a lot more flexible than the regular super glue. The regular super glue would turn cotton cloth like a potato chip. It would just snap, very brittle. So that's why I went out and bought that yellow or orange thick nylon, and it would do the same thing. So if you go ahead and watch the video, you'll see that the results I got are somewhat satisfactory. The surprising thing was that the regular super glue that I put a couple of belts together about a year ago performed pretty well. And I think it could be that I used brand name super glue. I was just using these little tubes. I was getting them 4 for $1 in the dollar store. Now they went to like 3 for $1, and now I think they're like 2 for $1. So, but to come to the conclusion here, I used a rubber hardened glue called Vibrotite, and currently on eBay it's $7.99, and that is for 2 ounces. So that's really economical for that. Then there's IC 2000. You get a 1 ounce for $11.99. Loctite Ultra Gel with the shipping and all comes to about $6.95, but that's only for 0.14 ounces. So you pay a little more for these other ones and you get 14 times as much. I think they all performed about equally well. None of them stood out much better. It could be that Loctite performed a little bit better. I think it's $4.47 in Home Depot when I checked, so it's not that bad. And by the way, I'm probably going to try this contact cement. You can get a quart of WELWOOD contact cement for $13.80 with the shipping on eBay. I think it's pretty much the same thing in Home Depot. And on eBay, there's all kind of prices, $25 all the way up to like $35. But the cheapest I saw was $13.80. And there's a bunch of other brands of this rubber impregnated or toughened super glue. I think when they put the rubber in, it makes it a little less sticky, but it's flexible. I called up a guy who, one of the many guys who has a modeling store, for modelers, and he sold like 12 different glues. I asked him what he knew, if there was a difference in the quality of super glue. He wasn't sure. Of course, it has a shelf life. They say it's possibly good for up to a year. And these companies put all kind of additives in it to try and make it more sticky, more flexible, more heat resistant. There's one company, I think Permabond, has 21 different super glues. And I don't know how you'd pick which one. They help. I first started looking for a flexible super glue. There's apparently a couple different varieties. Three varieties are with ethyl, alkoxy, and methyl. But I couldn't find much else about them. That's when I found out that there was these rubber toughened super glues. So if you want to try this, remember, I'm not recommending, because This is dangerous. These belts fly apart. What you probably should have is one of these enclosed industrial type grinders. I do have one. I don't use it that much because it happens to be 2x42. But it's all enclosed, it's OSHA approved. Think about that. You can get injured, but a lot of times these belts that come around, they'll smack you. They could possibly blind you or injure you pretty bad. And an X-weight belt is very heavy. It's somewhat akin to a machete. So keep that in mind. So if I come up with any more brilliant ideas, I'll probably make a very short video and come up with results. But right now, this is what I have. I'll probably keep experimenting a little bit. But it was interesting to find out. It was a good thing to get some use out of these old belts that were otherwise useless. A 50 grit ceramic belt that costs $9 is useless if it's broken. I mean, what could you use it for? It's no good for hand sanding. So I just said thanks a lot, and you get anything out of the video. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, this video is for you knife makers out there. Generally, a lot of times people get into knife making and blacksmithing. They just get sort of bare bones. A lot of people don't have a lot of money throughout the hobby. If you're a professional and you make your livelihood off of that, or maybe you've been doing it for a number of years, it's a different story. But one of these things has been kicking around for about as long as I've been making knives. Is the problem with these belts flying apart here. Have you ever had a problem with a belt breaking? That's a little joke. But it frustrates a lot of people, and what I'm going to do is do an experiment. So I'm going to go on a little psychobabble right now. If you want to find out how the experiment ended, go to the end of the video. For now, I'm going to give you a little take on this, and we'll see how this goes. First off, some people give insulting remarks about people wanting to repair their belts. They say, what are you doing? You imply that you're a cheapskate or dumb. And generally, the answer to those people from the people they're criticizing is rather unfavorable, I must say. And I agree with them. Because, hell, I spent $8 for a sanding belt and I don't get around to using it right away. I come back later and the thing, boom, flies apart. And it's nice to buy things in bulk. You get a good deal on sanding belt. Guys, hey, look, these belts are normally $7 a piece, but if you buy 20 of them, you can have them for $4. Wow, great, So you use 3 or 4 of them, and then you come back at a later time, and then they're worthless. So it's rather frustrating. So to make a long story long, a lot of people I associate with in blacksmith clubs and knife maker guys and stuff like that have always kicked around this idea. How do you repair a broken belt? It seems like if they make the damn thing, why can't you repair it? And one of the things you're going to do is how to make them last longer. And they say, keep them inside, watch the moisture, hang them in a cabinet with a light bulb so there's a little bit of heat in there and you get extra life out of them. As soon as you're done sanding a piece or a bevel, take them off the machine, take the tension off, all these things. But anyway, they're going to fall apart. I haven't seen very many, I'd say, go the distance. So a lot of people try to fix them, and you know, they wonder what this little thing is and whatever, and the main thing is what kind of glue. So a lot of people try this, try that. Over the years, I've never heard of anybody trying super glue. We've talked about this and that, and the last couple of years though, I see some suggestion on some of the forums that, yeah, maybe you should try super glue. But the main thing that most people use would be epoxy, because using epoxy is second nature to a knife maker. It's the best thing overall for gluing your handle slabs onto a full tang knife, and you know, other situations, even for a hidden tang. Everybody uses epoxy. It's very good stuff. It's easy to use, and it's not expensive. You could probably use it 90% of applications, not all, but really the vast majority. So everybody tries putting these together with epoxy and find out that epoxy really doesn't work. Some people say it does, but I tell you what, I've tried it, it never worked for me. A while ago, I always looking out for maybe if somebody came some breakthrough about how to fix these belts, and maybe they have and I didn't realize it. But one of the things, I saw a guy making his own belts. It looked like he was in Russia, and he's using this glue with some sort of Russian markings on it, or it could have been, you know, Lithuanian, I don't know, and you couldn't tell what it was, but I think it was super glue. And it looked like he was happy with it. So a while back, about 2 years or so ago, I did some experiments with a bunch of things. I was going to make a YouTube video about it, but I really didn't have that much success. I tried super glue, and what I used to put the belts together was just like a piece of cotton cloth from like a old white shirt. And I put that on, I put the super glue, and I had some favorable results, but not anything stellar. It turns out that if you get a piece of white cloth, you know, and you put super glue on it, it turns it into a potato chip. I mean, it'll snap like that. Now here's the beauty of it though. Here's the takeaway message for me. I would clean these off with sandpaper, the inside edge, and then I would put a cloth down and saturate it with super glue, and for the most part the cloth stuck to the belt. Now with epoxy, it would rip off. It couldn't tolerate it. And I heard tell, well, there's better epoxies out there, you know, I don't know. But in general, some good quality, you know, epoxy, it would come off. It wouldn't stick to this here. And I tried cleaning it, you know. And I actually talked to somebody who sells knife making belt grinders, a very famous company. I won't name drop, but he's come to the Batson conference in spring a couple of times, and I got to talk to him. He's usually at the Blade Show, I believe. His company is anyway. And he said, you know, you knife makers always come up to me and like throw this in my face about there's a conspiracy. Like we're making these belts and we want them to fall apart, so you know, you get screwed, you know, you get screwed out of your money. He said, it's not true, it's not true. It's just that the moisture or whatever gets in the belt and they fall apart. I don't know, he was making it sound like he bought the belts, he didn't make them. And I said, well, what about getting the glue? I mean, it's a special kind of glue, isn't it? And he goes, yeah, it's a special kind of glue. But you guys can't get it because they only sell it to people who are making belts, and they ship it in dry ice, and it comes and it has to be refrigerated right away. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. You're talking about like you don't make belts and you don't mess with this glue, so how come you're so smart about this glue? But to add to that story, I don't know, about 7, 8 years ago, I'm on the web. This is like, you know, maybe it was longer than that. Maybe it was like 20 years ago. I don't know. You get my age, you lose track of time. So the web was just coming into being, you know. It was only really getting hot, you know. It could have been around 2000 maybe. And I'm looking for this glue, and I can't find it. All this looking, and finally I find they're talking something about this glue somewhere, you know. So what I could never get was a phone number or how to contact people. So finally I get this phone number for 3M. And I call up this guy and I say, look, I want to make some sanding belts. And he starts to give me a runaround. You know, like conspiracy theory, you know, we think there's some sort of mystery here, you know, and now I'm getting a runaround from this guy. Like, shit, it sure be your job to sell this stuff, right? So he finally says, well, you know, I don't know about selling it to you. So finally he says, well, you have to buy a 55-gallon drum. Right? Now I know he's bullshitting me. He's trying to blow me off. I mean, it seems obvious. So I'm thinking, look, first off, I'm not going to let this guy blow me off from that. And second off, yeah, I'm serious, because I talked to all these guys about who, you know, trying to get these belts repaired so they could use them, get some of their money back. Maybe I could use 55 gallon. We'll part it out and we'll all chip in. So I says, okay, fine. I'll take 55 gallon. And he just basically said, nah, I can't sell it to you, and hung up. I mean, this doesn't sound like some sort of conspiracy theory. I don't know what, but I just had to tell that story. So, the experiments I did a while back, one thing I want to tell you, I figured maybe a thermoplastic would be a good idea. So I got this huge roll. The roll's about this big of carpet glue. Now, have you ever seen anybody put a carpet together? You got this strip of adhesive with cloth, and it's got this gooey glue all over it. And it's real thick. It's like, you know, good eighth of an inch thick or more. And the way you put 2 pieces of carpet down, you got this special hot iron that's kind of skinny. It fits between the 2 carpets. You heat it up and you just go slow, and you heat up this gooey stuff, and then you push the carpet down. So I tried that. It didn't really work that good. The belts would go around the belt grinder a couple times, and then they would fail. But the thing is, it left such a bump on there, like this huge 1/8 inch bump. There's no way you could do a flat platen, and you couldn't, I don't think, even really do on a wheel. You probably just have to maybe slack belt it. I just threw that in. And of course, I told you about the potato chip phenomenon with super glue. So I'm looking at the internet, you know, off and on. And the thing is that I'm thinking, what if they had a flexible super glue? Because it wouldn't turn these things into a potato chip. So I found out a while later they started to make this stuff with rubber in it. It's super glue, but it's impregnated with rubber, and they talk about how flexible it is. And I think Gorilla Glue had one with rubber in it. But anyway, what I had done a while ago, and I never got around to it. Oh yeah, by the way, some people say, talking about thermoplastic, they use this stuff for repairing jeans and stuff. Now this has got a thermoplastic in it, you set with an iron. They got that other just fuzzy stuff that you put between two pieces of cloth and it melts. So somebody was raving about how good that was. So I tried it. It didn't work that well. And then there was these patches where it's a cloth patch and you put it over top of your torn out knee and your dungarees and you iron that on. I tried that. I wasn't too impressed with that either. Somebody swearing at it. But the one thing I wanted to do, I got some thick nylon. And I said, this is what I'm going to try. Instead of that cloth from a shirt, I got some heavy duty thick nylon I got from the fabric store. And I tried that. And it turned this into a potato chip. A little bit better though. I think it was a little bit better, but no good. So, what I ordered off eBay, and this is what I haven't got around to doing yet. This is going to be the experiment. And I'm going to use this nylon. Anyway, this is IC2000, Los Angeles, California. Extra strength, 20 to 45 second glue, 1 ounce cyanoacrylate. Anyway, oh, here it is. Carbon and rubber toughened. Carbon and rubber toughened. So this is what we're going to try. Now, I stuck this in the same shelf with that. This is called Vibrotite Super Glue. Vibrotite Instant Super Glue. Super Glue Instant. Rubber toughened. It looks like it's gone to shit here. No? No, I think I see a bubble moving around here. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I don't know how to turn it. Anyway, we're going to try some Vibrotite. I must have bought that too. Trying it out. Anyway, I never got around to the experiment. And in terms of YouTube video that I intended to make, I went to Home Depot and I got Loctite Super Glue because I was looking at the Gorilla Glue and I couldn't tell anything about it. So I said, look, maybe it was the Loctite that had the rubber in it. I don't remember. Anyway, look at this. On the picture, they're putting a couple drops of this glue on a rubber band. You know, one of these exercise things. I didn't notice that till just now. That's encouraging. Now it says Loctite Ultra Gel Control, Impact and Water Resistant Flexible. And it's for metal, rubber, ceramics, wood. Now if this thing will do rubber, hell, it must be flexible. So if it'll stop turning this thing into a potato chip, I think we got a good chance of fixing these damn belts. Now, this stuff ain't cheap, But let's say if you could fix, you know, a $9 3M ceramic belt for $1 or even $2, that would be pretty good. Now, for the next saga of the story, while I'm gluing these belts together, and it happens all these belts on. But for the 2x72, which most of us use, the thing is, sometimes I would glue these things together, and you know, they'd be like that, you know, instead of straight. So you've got them in your belt grinder, and the thing's going like this, you know. So I figure it's important to get these things lined up right. So made this little jig here. This is exactly 2 inches. This fits in there tight. And then what I would do is I would put wax paper down here. Now, I tried gluing these with the grit side up, and I couldn't really get this to lay down. You've only got seconds to work with this glue. You know, you don't have a whole lot of time. And by the way, the super glue, the fumes will get in your eyes and burn. So you at least have to have a fan blowing the fumes off to the side. I had the full-blown shielded respirator to use that included the eyes. But that super glue burns the eyes. Those fumes. So you don't want to. You don't want to. You know, while you're fooling around and gooping the super glue and thinking, oh boy, I'm going to fix this belt, and you got all this goopy super glue and more and more and more. Be careful with that. You don't want to breathe the crap either. You know, so I think, you know, you're probably going to at least need one of these. So do that at your own risk. I don't advise doing this. I disclaim everything. This is just my method. Okay? This stuff is dangerous, could kill you. All right? And if your lawyer's watching, I'm not advising doing this. I'm just showing you my plan. So that was my plan. And so I said, well, best to glue these. And what would happen is that I'd glue them like this here, and then after I glued them, then I'd have to turn them inside out. And that, sometimes the thing was so brittle, when I'm turning the belt around, the joint would break. It was that brittle. So I would hold on very carefully and try and... Now this is a very flexible belt, but I mean, you know, we're talking when you're doing, you know, a 40 grit, 60 grit belt, 80 grit belt. They're really hard to turn. And I don't really like these clamps that much. I'm sort of a twist clamp sort of guy, but they didn't work out for crap. I have a bunch of these cheap ones here, but while I'm working them, these things are flipping around. I got to hate these real bad. So what I started using was these, and these work really good. I never liked clamps where you can't control the pressure by twisting it or getting that high torque. I see a lot of you guys use them with success, so I'm a little more of a fan of these. So I would get this lined up here like that, and then I would come here. Now I would a lot of times put one down here if I need to, so it would keep everything lined up. Okay? and put the wax paper, and then I think I would put another piece of wax paper on top, and then I would, you know, clamp the whole mess down. So in order to keep everything aligned, and yet so I don't have to twist them around, I built this one where you put the belt, the grit side down, right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the grit side down. I'm sorry. Well, I guess you could have used the other one for that, because this one uses the grit side down. And on top, the grit side up. So anyway, got this space in here where you got room for clamps. And this just keeps everything out of the way. So with a 2x72 belt, I got plenty of room in here to do this operation. And enough room where I could, you know, clamp this thing a couple different places. And you got to move fast with super glue. So that was the ultimate setup. I guess this was the same way, but the damn belt kept getting in the way. I guess that's why I built this. So what I'm going to do now is get back to you and tell you the results. The result on this one, maybe it's dried out, I don't know. But I got a lot of hope for this one, and actually I got some hope for this one. So I hope I could come up with the valuable breakthrough on how to repair these damn sanding belts. Okay, went to find some belts that needed a repair, and this is a 3M resin bonded Regalite. $120 grit, and you can see why, you know, Regalite, they're pretty expensive. This has still got the wax paper on it. I put wax paper on both sides. See, there's a bit of a gap there, but not too bad. And there's a little more of a gap here than there, so this thing is going to be out of alignment a little bit. And there you can see the saturation of super glue. And that's some pretty stiff stuff there. I cannot tear it, but let me try that before I do my new method. This is a Trizac, never been used. They're kind of expensive, so I want to repair that. But here's some expensive belts. These are Norton, and I already prepped this. I already sanded that, and I'll probably do some more before I glue them. This one I glued with super glue, and these, like I say, they don't last too long. Well, you may get some pretty good use out of them. Maybe get a couple minutes out of them. Maybe they'll break immediately. But that's what a super glue repair looks like. I matched that up pretty good. So that's what I was used to doing, and it's not really good results. So I got a bunch of these. We're going to experiment, and we'll get rolling on that. So some of you are probably saying, why don't you shut up and glue some belts? There's a big hell yes out there. I don't heard it. Okay, I'm getting there. So anyway, I got my fancy fan clamp and my fan. I'm going to put this at the edge of the bench. It's going to blow some air. I just want to mention, there's a guy with a YouTube video. He's gluing up these like 4-inch belts for his hand sander, and he's using contact cement and Tyvek, you know, from like the shipping envelopes. I tried Tyvek with I think the super glue and definitely with the epoxy, and it didn't work as well as cloth. I think the Tyvek's shiny, almost it feels like it's waxy, although I'm sure it's not. But I didn't have much luck with it. But this guy puts a layer, and I think some more contact cement, another layer, and he's having good use for it. So thought I'd throw that in. We might try Tyvek later with this flexible super glue. And there was a guy who had some sort of glue, and he put this fuzzy black string on there. I don't know. I never pursued that very much. So there's a bunch of people doing this. We're going to try this method. I have to mention too, it looks like some people are just using regular white carpenter glue to put these together, and you know, maybe they're having great results too. I don't know. I never tried that. It seemed, you know, carpenter glue is for wood. Seems like a stupid idea. Anyway, these are 50 grit belts. I took the 50 grit belt because this particular belt is very rough. It's very thick, very heavy X-weight, and I roughened this up. And now I've got a piece of wax paper. I'm going to put it down here and I don't glue it to the board. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold it down by hand, because it says 20 to 45 seconds. So that shouldn't be too long. So I'm just going to try and hold it by hand. I could put a block of wood and clamp it. Maybe some cloth on top so it won't... oh, I wish I had a knife. No, here we go. Scissors. Alright. And I don't want to be part of a project here. Oh, Jesus, these are supposed to be large. Okay, got to turn on the fan. I got the fan blowing here. I'm going to talk over the fan. Alright, I'm ready to operate. It's very serious business. So. I cut these up. I'll probably get on the self-healing membrane that my wife uses for quilting. Every woman's got a self-healing membrane. No, you idiot, I'm talking about quilting. Alright, so cut those up. Now the wax paper wants to fly away. What do I do with the lid? Alright, here we go. Let's see what we got. Stuff is coming out. Okay. I don't know how much to use. Alright, that may be it. curly belt ain't helping anything either. Alright, now this and a piece of wax paper. Glue away. I got extra. Alright. Feels slippery. Doesn't feel like super glue. I think a clamp would be a good idea right about now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give it some time. Now you can see I bungled that first time. Now it's still wet. It is still very wet, so I'm going to give this a whole lot of time, maybe an hour or so. We'll see. We'll come back and make sure that this stuff is dry, and then we'll eventually give them a try out on the grinder. It's been about 8 to 10 minutes. If I wasn't in a hurry, I'd probably leave it in a while longer. The wax paper actually stuck to some of this glue here, so I think that's a good sign. So I'm gonna, I guess this is so tight I didn't even really need a clamp. But I'm gonna gingerly take this off. We'll let it dry some more. And give that a test. So we'll load up the next one. Now, like I say, if you're a professional knife maker, you probably would never be messing with these shenanigans. You're gonna buy your belts, use them, whatever. You're not going to waste time because you have to devote a lot of time into making your living. And yet Jerry Fisk told me a professional knife maker spends about 10% of his time experimenting. So stuff like this, not necessarily with belts, is what you have to do to learn your craft, even though it deducts from the time when you could be productive and earning a living. And another professional knife maker, Tom Enos, told me, when I just first started making knives, I said, what's one key thing you would tell a person starting out making knives? And I figured he's going to say, you know, be careful of heat treat, you know, stuff like that. He said, know your materials. Now, maybe that seems a little bit too broad or whatever, but yeah, you mean you got to know your handle material, your glue, what kind of rivets you use, what kind of steel, of course, just on and on and on. And it's very important. So I feel a little bit vindicated by all that. And anyway, I'm having a good time. So this is the Vibratight, and we're going to put down, just reuse this one. Alright, tell you what we're going to do. It looks like the other stuff is black. It's kind of thick. not really getting any burning in my eyes with that fan blowing, so I feel good about that. A copious amount. Alright. This thing fly up there. So, we got almost an inch on both sides. And of course they cut these belts at an angle usually, prepared. Alright. And we're down. I feel like it's now, instead of this wax paper, next time I do this, I think I'm going to use some paper towels because there'll be an air cushion in there, and I think the air is important for this stuff to cure. But right now, to keep the experiment without varying too many parameters, I'm going to do these first three with wax paper. We'll see how that goes, and then maybe I'll use some air. Now that feels like it's really bound up now. The other one felt a little bit squishy, but this stuff feels like it's dry already. I'll put a clamp on anyway. Okay, this is our Loctite Super Glue Ultra Gel. I tried a little bit of it. It does look like a gel, but it's clear. I don't know. The other two look like, you know, they got black rubber in them. Maybe, I don't know. When you get this, you got to squeeze this. You got to turn this white part down. I guess that punctures the tube or something. And then you got this cap. It's like just an eighth of a turn to come off. Now, of course, when you buy it in Home Depot instead of the internet, you get a lot more information. Press parts together for 15 to 30 seconds. Right. And then it says, replace cap, leave undisturbed for 5 minutes. Then it says, full cure in 12 to 24 hours. So we'll probably get after testing these tomorrow. Alright. So I got some wax paper. I got wax paper. Anyway. So I'm going to get a little bit of this on here. Now, it looks like to squeeze it out, you squeeze these two blue wings, because this is really hard. Now I notice, I was working with super glue, like if I get on a rubber glove, it gets really stiff. So the other two seem a little bit more flexible. This I don't know, but anyway. Ooh, man, that's hot. That is actually, I could feel this is warm. It's what we call an exothermic reaction. Very clearly warm. Got to be a good sign. The other two I don't think did that. Anyway, that's been 15 or 30 seconds. I'm going to give it like about 6 minutes like I did the other ones with the clamps on. The wax paper really stuck to the Loctite. And another thing, I made this contraption so that this belt would be very tight in here. And that way so it would have to line up, you know, without being crooked. But if you want to move it just a little bit, a horse flying here. You want to move it just a little bit, you have to pull it out of the jig. So I'm going to try tieback, which I talked about. I thought maybe we were trying. I'll go ahead and use this Loctite. I think I do feel it getting warm, but it's not as pronounced as it was the last time. And doesn't seem like this super glue penetrates through the tieback cloth. But I can't say it doesn't. It seems like it might in a couple spots. Anyway, that's feeling pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely warm. It's definitely warm. Alright, I'm going to do the J-Flex and that other one, the 150 grit 3M. I won't bore you with that. And I think the next thing we're going to do is testing. This is a repair from about a year ago. I used to get the super glue, 4 little tubes for $1 at the dollar store. Now you probably have to pay $1 for 2 little tubes, but that's a whole quarter's worth of cyanoacrylate, and you can see that the white cloth is just totally saturated. And we're going to give that a try. It's about a year old, so let's see how that goes. Well, we finally got some rain, so it may be a little noisy, but I'm sure you can hear me. Before I go onto the belt grinder, I thought I'd be trying to do this one 100 grit belt here for hand sander. I'm going to trim this up and we'll give it a go. Now, one thing I noticed, this Loctite, you can only get about 3 belts out of it. It wasn't all that expensive. I think it was maybe $6 or $7. Not too bad. And I don't remember what the Vibratite is, but you can see when I ordered, I got 2 of them, or maybe I ordered 2 of them. Yeah, I apologize, I don't remember. I think it was a 2-for-1 sale off eBay, and then this is IC 900. I think this was around $9. I apologize. I probably should be looking this up and telling you, but I just want to make this quick comment. And I think these are probably in the same ballpark. Like I said, we gotta look at that. But here's something interesting. This super glue is 0.14 ounces. 0.14. And this IC1000 is 1 ounce. So, you know, how many times does 14 go into 100? You know, a couple of times. So this is way more. And I think it was only a few bucks more. And this is 1 ounce. So both of these together are 2 ounces. So that's something very interesting to me, because believe it or not, I'm a little bit cheap. So we'll get this going. Okay, I was just going to jump up and down about what a great success that was. I just took off the belt. But you can see this is coming apart, but this is on there. This is not budging, so I think it's still a success. That's holding its own. Now this is okay for wood. We're going to go have to see what it does with metal. And you can see that this is this wavy thing. Does that make things better or worse? I don't know. That's one way some manufacturers make a joint. And these are very small. This is a Norton belt. I don't know where it came from, but you could see the sort of this wavy joint here. That's very large. If I were to put this belt together again, what I would probably do is just use the same thing. I would take it down until I got all this old glue off, because it failed once. I don't trust putting glue on top of this glue that failed once. So I would take it down to where the cloth was cleaned. So I'm going to go finish the experiment. So just a note, in terms of economy, the guy who is doing the belt repair with contact cement is probably doing it the cheapest, because you get a big bottle of, big can of contact cement. Yeah, that's only going to be around, probably $10. I'm just estimating. It's been a while since I bought a can. You get a big can. Now what he does is he puts it on, puts a patch of Tyvek. Then I guess he lets it dry. Then he puts another layer of contact cement, another patch of Tyvek. And Tyvek, you get for nothing. You just save up your old envelopes. It looks like one of these is going to be pretty economical. I hope I don't get too lazy and not try the experiment with the contact cement. But if these turn out to be a success, I might pretty much stick with these. And this, if it works, is probably a bit more expensive. You're only going to get a couple belts out of 0.14 ounces, where these are, several times as much, 1 ounce. But it all depends on what works. The cheapest is probably carpenter glue, but I've never seen it work. So getting big tubes of epoxy is pretty cheap, but I've never seen that work. So I'd have to see how it goes. Carpenter glue may be an alternative. I personally haven't tried it. Well, let's see what I come up with. Okay, this one, the old style baiters. I got the small wheel on, so it's not going to be going that fast. We're going to see how it goes. By the way, a lot of people talking about shoe goo for fixing belts. I never tried it. So we're going to try the Rubber Toughened Super Glue. Okay, this is Loctite, and I got it fairly loose. I'm going to turn this on. And it's not tracking too bad on the wheel. I'm not going to do slack belt. But you can see that it's wobbling up here a bit. So we're going to see how this goes. Wanted to make my friend a hunting knife out of a rasp. I never did that. And these things are, I'm sure, going to hog up a lot of belts. There's a lot of steel there. I didn't forge it too much on the anvil to get out the bevel, because I thought the blade was wide enough, so I probably should have thinned it out a bit. We'll see how it goes with all this stock removal. Okay, the joint is looking perfect. I did a good job the first time, although it's probably a little bit off. I mean, it's hard to tell. Maybe put a ruler up there, you could tell. This is good, and the belt's not really hot. It's a tiny bit warm. I just worried that it might have, you know, a thermoplastic effect like epoxy. If you ever want to get epoxy handle off a knife without destroying it, you use heat, and the epoxy will release. So I took it kind of easy, but I don't know. I think this is a winner, and that is the Loctite. This is a knife I had laying on the shop floor for the past 10 years. It goes to show you how I stay on a project. Anyway, you can see that this thing here got quite a bit more wobble to it. But this belt, like the other belt, has very little bump at the joint. You can feel it, but wasn't that terrible? So these things just might be okay for a flat platen. Now, if I were to really tighten this belt up, some of that wobble might go away. Just ready to tighten them. Anyway, belt's not hot. The joint looks good. Nothing tearing off here. I mean, so far, I'm happy with both of these. Okay, that was IC2000, and it was tracking pretty nice. I tightened the belt just a notch. You could see how flexible this joint is. Now, if this was super glue, it wouldn't do that. In fact, if you got it about there, that's when it would snap. Sound like a pretzel. I call it a potato chip. Anyway, I was pushing into it pretty good. I think all three of them look like they're going to pass. I haven't, you know, only spent, you know, 2-3 minutes grinding. But I used up some of the grit, getting some value out of the belts, getting some of my money back. Okay, this is, I believe, Vista. It's black. It's going to be Vista IC1000. I think it's Vista. And this is Tyvek. And I didn't record it. I just turned it on to adjust the tracking before I started to record it. And the Tyvek just ripped to shreds. The belt exploded. It hit the lamp or whatever. So now, as far as the glue, well, you can see I could peel a layer of the Tyvek off. and I don't think the glue's failing. Whatever kind of Tyvek I got here, I'm pretty sure it was U.S. Post Office Tyvek, one of their envelopes. That didn't work too good. Now, to talk about the stuff being dangerous, you can see I got a C-clamp up here, okay? I got to rigmarole that a little bit better. I had it in the back, and when a belt exploded, it didn't do anything. A belt still came around, hit me in the shoulder with a t-shirt on, and cut me. When I first started knife making, Tom Enos has like a 132 Bader Space Saver, and he had some sort of trap on there. He said the belt came around after it broke and walloped him real good. Ever since then, he put that on there. So OSHA wants all of this under guard and everything like that. This is why just any kind of belt is dangerous, but when you start repairing your own, it possibly is even more dangerous. So again, I'm not going to take a responsibility for this. I'm just doing this demonstration. I'm not recommending anything. And for legal purposes, if you do decide you're doing it at your own risk, I would prove that it's dangerous. So I will do some test runs. I'll show you basically start to finish from now on. Sorry you missed this dramatic thing. It made a big bang when it hit the light. Alright, so you guys want some excitement, huh? Yeah, I know. Alright, this is Loctite with Tyvek. I don't think I'm going to use Tyvek again, but we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, this is a thinner belt. It's not an X-weight. It's a 3M 120 grit, and this is the Vita or whatever. Okay, nylon cloth, not much of a bump. The Vita whatever is holding up pretty well. I got a little bit of separation here. Look at that, look at that. Oh, geez. I got some separation there. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Well, it's an experiment, right? But look at that. Well, that's not too impressive. I don't know. I think I could have possibly got some use out of that belt, but that's scary stuff. Now, right here, well, it was holding better. You can see you can see this black here, and then there's this here. It tore a piece of the belt off, so it stuck to the belt so good. But then again, the belt separated. So, you know. Okay, this is a 3M Trizac A65. It says 307 EA. And this is Loctite. Now, you know, it's not fully bonded, all of the material, but I don't think it's better. It's a little bit bigger. I don't know if that should be trimmed off or not. I'm going to leave it on. I think normally I'd trim it off, but I'm going to leave it on for this experiment. The Trizac A65 with Loctite. I got a gap in there. You can see the orange, but it's very flexible. Probably get your money back out of that belt. Here again is a Norton 50 grit. This is from about a year ago. This is cloth with regular super glue. You can see it's got a little bit of a bend in it somehow when it got glued. I don't know how it happened. But we're just going to see what happens here. Maybe you guys will enjoy seeing me get killed. So, ma'am, how did your husband die? Well, he's making his idiotic YouTube video, and the belt came around and cut both carotid arteries, and it's all on film. But he got a lot of thumbs up. I'm a little disappointed that the results are not that definitive. I had those two regular super glue belts I put together a year ago, and I abused the hell out of them, and they didn't fly apart. And I know you guys are disappointed. You wanted to see exploding belts and me being severely injured and all that. So let's go. I'll put it in the flat platen. I'm going to mess around with my bevel jig. And we'll see. Now we're going to start off. I tell you what. Now this is the Loctite with the Tyvek. And we'll see what happens. And you can see that it's starting to separate on the left side here. And if we turn this on, it was going crazy. So this is getting ready to pop. Like that. Okay, I would say that the glue held, but the Tyvek failed. I wasn't scared. Maybe for a second. I mean, you know. So what you could see was the cloth failed. Now I tell you what, I got some use out of that blade. I was beating the hell out of that blade. You can see that. So I don't know. There's got a tear here. They got a tear here and a tear here. What probably happened was that the edge started to fail and it got caught in the I don't know what it got caught in. Nothing get caught in. I don't know why that tore. But to tear an X-weight belt takes a lot of force. You know, because these things are about as tough as leather. So I just want to say, for a while back there, I think I did buy some regular commercial super glue. I might have bought some DevCon or something like that in a big bottle. A lot of times I was repairing these with the dollar store super glue. You get like 4 for $1, so it was just like a quarter a piece. And then I started to just fix one side and let it sit because I couldn't line it up too good. And then I fixed the other side. Then that time I brought them both together. I think at the end though I was doing about. Now that is really hot. And that may be a factor too. I don't know how much the heat. Wow, you know, good and hot. The adjustment wheel isn't hot, but this is. The drive wheel, I mean, you know, it's a little bit warm, you know, but that I can't put my hand on. I don't know, I would say that's a good 120 degrees or so. So I don't know, but now oddly enough, I thought I was having problems with this not sticking. This stuck very well. I mean, I cannot tear that off. So that's why I endeavored to find something more flexible, and the cloth like turned into like I say, just like a potato chip. It would just snap. Now there's that, and yeah, okay. See how that broke? It just snapped like a potato chip. One more time. Yeah. So even this is cotton cloth. It's just snapping like a potato chip. Okay, and you can see how I put this makeshift guard up my belt with just a C-clamp. You know, you got to keep it out of the way of the belt, but try and get it in front of the belt so when it whips around, it doesn't injure you, hopefully. Do any of you guys use guards, or is this just for wimps or what here? So I'd like to maybe see some pictures, see what somebody comes up with. Like I say, I'm going to do a much more improved guard when I get a chance. Okay, finally, this is Vita Vegemin. No, that's a Lucille Ball skit. It's probably on YouTube if y'all watch it. This is Viper Tight, and I want this video over, and I'm sure you do too, but I felt kind of guilty not doing one of the Rubber Toughened Super Glues with cloth. So this is an old shirt. I don't know, it's been washed and bleached several times, but we'll see how it goes. And I already talked about the bottom line at the beginning, but the bottom line is you probably won't make belts as good as they come out of the factory. But can you make them enough to get some use out of them? It's possible. But the results sometimes vary. The belts explode. I don't know why. Sometimes they last a long time and they seem to work really good. I don't know. I was really displeased with regular super glue, and yet they perform rather well after sitting around for a whole year. I don't know. So I'm going to continue to mess with it. For right now, I never want to see another belt for a couple months because I'm sick of this. But for the last one, we'll see how it goes. And the whole idea too is that we share on YouTube. So if you got some useful comments, things that you have tried, you can put them down there and share and make your own video. I'd love to watch it. Okay, here it goes. Okay, cure time on that was about 5 hours, and my run time here was about 1:20 seconds, I'd say. So there you have it. Okay, let's get this over with. The Sorry, but the camera ran out of battery. The thing that broke on this belt was the cloth. The glue held up fairly well. I tore it off. Unfortunately, the camera died. So from here, I probably would go back to trying something a little tougher. I might try doubling up on the nylon. I might try some material from dungarees. Now you're going to get a bigger bump that way, and it might not work too good with a flat platen. It might not even work that great with a rubber contact wheel. Gotta give it a go. So the bottom line is, be safe. It's dangerous. If you're going to try it, maybe kick around some of your experience in the comments, so all of us can get the rewards of that without watching a tremendously long video, the longest video ever made. Thanks for watching, and take care.